I've made a little presentation. Let me share my screen. Oh. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep, that looks great.
Cool. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm the marketer for Iridescent Technology, and I was just going to talk about my favourite session, which was the Golden Circle. I liked it because I hadn't really heard about it before, and it kind of seemed like every other session that we had after kind of kept coming back to it. So our Golden Circle was, our why was making learning as unique as you are. Our how was we create engaging, personalized learning experiences by combining AI, neuroscience, and smart design to meet each learner's unique needs. Our what was Zevmo AI, an AI-powered learning companion. And I know that can change, like ours changed when we add a new product in. How we discovered our why. After the session, me, Cosmo, Juliet, and Zav all kind of jumped on a call, and we had the big realization that we weren't fully aligned with our why. We had similar ideas, but they weren't quite the same. This session pushed us to finalize our messaging and gain clarity on what truly drives us. Having a clear why made our content, messaging, and brand feel more connected and meaningful. And the impact that had on us was crystal clear messaging became the foundation for our post newsletters outreach, making our communication more consistent and effective. It was authenticity boost. Our content now feels more natural, engaging, and truly aligned with our vision and brand values. Stronger audience connection. We've seen increased engagement and more meaningful interactions on LinkedIn. Lasting impact. This alignment will continue to guide our strategy long after the program ends, ensuring long-term success. Team alignment. Our whole team is now on the same page, making collaboration and decision making smoother and more effective. More confidence in storytelling. Having a clear why, how, and what has made it easier to communicate our brand's value and with clarity and impact. Final thoughts. I know it's been really quick, guys. Sorry. This session was incredibly important, not just to me, but for my whole team. It's something that has reshaped the way we think about messaging and purpose, and it's definitely going to stick with us long after the program ends. And that was my little presentation. I was going to say another part that, like an example was the other day I had posted something on the Iridescent company page, and it was like more of like the mechanics behind Zevmo, and it didn't really do that well. And I think it was because we kind of did miss the emotional side of the why. And I realized after that, as we had one post that I did of Cosmo, and it was like a little post of him working in an office, and it just like described how important it was and he was to our team. And that just went way better. And I think it was because we used that emotional side with it. But yeah, that's my little presentation. And I'm done.
That's really, really good, Billy. Well done. And I really like the brand. I think the brand over the period, for those of you who might have been monitoring our brand since we started a year ago, we have really struggled to nail it down. We have been all over the place. And as I said to Billy, every time she presents branding guidelines to me, I'm like, oh, Billy, that's absolutely fantastic. Well done. I think we've totally
got 5, I think.
Yeah. And then, you know, a couple of weeks later, we realized that we can't work with that brand or
I realized, I think like the first one I did, like I sent into the group with all of you guys, and then everyone sent in theirs, and I was like, oh, it doesn't actually look that good. So like I went back, and now we've got it a lot nicer, I think. And the branding, I think we've finally come to a realization that that's more us, and our products have different branding, which is really cool.
And I think certainly once we got the brand nailed down, and for us it is really simple brand because we're all moving at speed, you know, the team is so small, so it's like we need to move at speed and we need to create content at speed. And so having really simplified branding guidelines has been really good. But well done. Well done. I mean, you know, it's fantastic. I'm really thrilled. I'm really thrilled.
Yeah, I was so nervous.
You did a brilliant job. Practice makes perfect on these.
I'm actually really looking forward to hearing everyone's, but I do have a call with someone, but I'll watch it on YouTube after.
Okay.
So thank you guys for listening. I'll see you later.
Yeah, well done, Billy. Well done.
Bye.
Well done. Right, who have we got up next? I know that Emily has very kindly said that. Oh, and
I can do one if you like.
Lovely, fantastic. Thank you, Gerard. And then we'll go to Emily and then Matt. And
Yeah,
then
so what I did is try to avoid what we've learned and put everything upside down. So I have a little 4-slide presentation and a story of 3.5 hours that I will reduce to 5 minutes. So let me see if this does work for me. Where can I find my presentation now? I'm sharing. It says that I need to select it. This is not good.
Yeah, you might need to select a window. Sometimes it says, yeah, perfect.
No, not that. And if not, then I just go tell. So that's not a big thing, but no. Why wouldn't he want to do what I wanted to do?
That's technology in a nutshell, I think.
Yeah, you know, I presented it yesterday. Well, I can see it now, but it doesn't help you, of course.
So what you might find is it on a different window or is it on a different tab?
It's on a different window.
Okay, so if it's on a different window, basically you should be able to see a tab that says Windows and then all the pages you've got open in that window.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, you should be able to see all the different windows you've got.
Yeah, that is what I'm missing one window.
Oh, how about sharing all screen? That's another way around it.
I'll go do it. I'll go do that.
That's sometimes what I end up defaulting to.
You see it now? No.
No. Savvy, if you got a hand up, did you want to say something? Or is that
then you know, just let it go. So what I'll do is tell you.
Great.
And show you. So basically, what my passion is to get out tacit knowledge of people that leave a company. So if you look at yourself, then research says that 35% of what you know is what they call explicit, that is written, that you've seen in videos, that you've seen in PowerPoint presentations, that you took up from courses. And 65% of what you have is actually developed through life, if you like. That basically means that I'm always working with like 40+ years old people, because life takes time. And what you then get, and that is what you see and hear, is hey, go to Johnny, because you know this is really complicated and Johnny knows that experience. Go to Johnny because he's the guy that actually understands everything and can, you know, connect the dots. And that whole thing is such a great value for companies, so that at the moment Johnny decides to leave, there is big panic. And that big panic actually turned into really big panic in the past 6-7 years, when the C-level found out that people are getting older. We have a demographics challenge. There is, in Germany alone, 9 million people leaving office in the next 4 years. Of those 9 million, there are earmarked some, let's say 4,000 that you actually cannot miss. It will stop innovation. And I'm so passionate about this that can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. That I actually decided to step out of my global VP job, because that was just a job. where you need to work hard and get things done, into something that was, if you have this challenge, I can help you. So I've been developing a methodology to figure out where you have hidden your tacit knowledge somewhere in your three brains that you have, the gut brain, the heart brain, and the head brain, and how those are connected and how those are helping creating unique solutions for your company, for yourself, for the team you're working in. And having said that, then it's quite a difficult thing. How the heck you know what you do? I knew how to do this. Took me in real life. I was busy with that for over 12 years to get the methodology right. Uh, and then, so the way I did this is I went to annual reports of large corporations, figured out the pages where they were talking about people, and found out where people were going or were they actually afraid about people going or reorganizations. What I did do next is stepped into any register and found Annie, the personal assistant of whatever guy or person, and talk to her. Did you hear from your boss that he is afraid that Johnny goes leave the company? And that's the way I got into companies, where I then could explain what this means, what the result is of actually capturing and structuring this tacit invisible knowledge and hand it over to other people in the company. I started it like in 2015, rolled out the first one. And ever since, I do the same thing. We are now with 5 people. It's quite complex to handle, but very exciting, emotional, touching even. And what we do is the very same thing. I go look. I don't do any marketing. People tell at that level. The HR leader of Gotthard tells the AR leader of Real, and Real then says, "Well, can you get me his email address?" So it's a sort of the other way around. Low level trust, connections, and do the thing right. At this moment in time, I'm working on 5 different projects, not just me, where we do the very same thing. You have people leaving. First of all, uh, Billy needs to go from marketing department to sales department. Then marketing loses an asset, and and sales doesn't know. Uh, the other thing is retirement. The other thing is reorganization. We decided to implement AI solutions, and now we need to get rid of 85 people, 850 people. But there are really great guys there. What should we do with what they carry as tacit knowledge? So, and that whole story altogether brings me to very unique learning events. Actually, I can tell you for days about the unique solutions you need to drive people into invisible knowledge. And that is the then measurable success at the end of the day. If they gained that knowledge or thinking or deed or competence, then you can measure the result in really hard numbers. And that could be reducing cost with millions. That could be increasing innovation speed. That could be, and this is just an example, real life. I've done a lot of work for ASML, a company that tech people understand, and they increase their innovation speed remarkably. So that is all because, and there is quite some of you in this course actually that have more tacit knowledge than they can believe themselves. It happens to me in the past 10 years I do this, that people like yourself get truly emotional when they recognize their contribution to their business, their contribution to their life or their neighbors. It's too exciting to go to bed, and it's really exciting that it happens to me. So sales from a different perspective, I go there where the pain is, I help them to feel the pain, and with them we find the medicine and solve it and make them happy again. So I had slides to show that, but anyway, this is the story.
That's lovely. And how do you actually grab hold of the tacit knowledge? Is that through interviews or?
Yeah, so the way it goes is we go to you and ask you first, what did you write? Your presentations, your YouTube channels. Then we analyze from that your thinking lines. That's what we can do, for all of you, so to speak. And then we go based on your thinking lines, draft an associative interview to actually map your mental landscape. And mapping the mental landscape, like Sam shared with us some of these things, then you can find out what makes you unique. And there is quite some unique people on your course, Juliet, so to speak. And but that uniqueness needs to be hardened and transferred to people that say, well, Sam is the best, but they don't know what they need to do to get a step closer to Sam. And Sam, I'm sorry, Sam, if you don't mind that I use you as an example here. If Sam would leave the company is in trouble. And yes, you will have younger, brilliant people, but they didn't have that time to grow to unique, out of the box stuff. And at the moment in time that you leave, then yes, they will grow to your level, but that will take 2 or 3 years. And then your company is behind. So that is what you see happening. It's too exciting, but anyway. So that's what we do to get the tacit knowledge out of you. Listen to your thinking lines. Along the thinking lines, we make mental landscapes and encourage you to open your exploration. Let us see your brain from the inside. And like I said, that is a quite emotional 2 or 3 hours.
Fascinating. Well, thank you very much for sharing that, Jared. I really appreciate it. Emily, we'd love to hear from you and the Apollo team. I know that you guys have been working collaboratively on some stuff. I'd love to hear what your takeaways have been.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I haven't been on camera for the last lessons. I'm normally running my dog and covered in rain and wind, and thought people didn't need to see that in the morning. So yes, so we at Apollo have never really had or in the last couple of years haven't had a defined sort of strategy for sort of our sales and marketing approach. And so this course has just been brilliant to help us all get our thoughts just opened up as far as, how to take the business forwards, how to understand what we can put in place to make things much more efficient and, great for a small team of people. And so everything that, has been talked about has been great. I did put a little presentation. I'll see if I can try and share this. I have no idea what's going to happen. So choose what to share with meetglobal.com. Oh my goodness. Window. Let's have a look. Share. Anyone seeing anything?
Yep, perfect. Yeah.
There we go. So the most ignore, sorry. Yes, obviously the most poignant thing, which I think probably everybody's really felt, is your golden why and just how much that's resonated throughout the whole course. And I don't know whether it comes down to a specific phrase or an ideology throughout the whole business, but I suppose for us at Apollo, the most exciting thing is our new sort of tagline of absolute vision, which sort of ties into a book that Steve's writing all about absolute return. And also it's going to be a launch of a new product that we've got coming through in the next couple of months. So that's our new sort of tagline for the business. And then sort of working out what the key things underneath that golden why and the sort of the key messaging that we can really use to understand, for people to put our business out there and for people to really sort of tag into. So it's the fact that we're flexible and forward thinking and designed to deliver long-term value for people, which is fundamentally, as an asset manager or a DFM, is what you really want to do as your core business why. And then having the idea of having innovative strategies that go beyond the limitations of traditional people or traditional investment strategies. So the idea that we use absolute return as part of our asset allocation is very different from all of our peer group. And so a big sort of part of our business, it's our USP. The team that we've got, understanding that we're quite a different sort of mix from a traditional sort of DFM business mix, and I think that ties into a really key message that I can't remember what lesson it came into, but the idea that the company can have its own branding, and the company has very strict guidelines, but then also understanding that the individuals underneath it can also have their own brand that ties into that company brand. And so I think that'll be a really interesting journey that we take forward to understand how you put those people out there, as whether it's AI Steve or actually Steve or any of us, and actually how we can then interact with the social platforms as us as individuals, supporting our Apollo brand, but actually being quite a different branding underneath that. And then the other key part of our business is sort of the partnerships that we want to create, the collaborative strategies that we can put in place for sort of the IFA network. And so again, creating from what is traditionally quite a dry and a very regulated industry, where there's so many rules about how you market yourself and you advertise yourself, but actually create understanding. And again, a really interesting point that you kept harping back to is that we're all talking to people. No matter what your business does or whatever, how dry it is, you're still got to sell your business to another human being. So again, really kind of creating that emotional resonance with our messaging and sort of saying to the IFA network, we can help you. We're here as your partners, and understanding that emotional side to the business. So I suppose that's going to be a really interesting sort of strategy we've put in place. And then the other things that have been great from the course is quite another interesting. How do I get this to work? I click on that one. So I thought that this was a really great slide that you talked us about, to actually sort of say, as a business to business, which is what we are, just this breakdown of actually this markets and understanding each different stage of it, and how we then create each of the messaging or our marketing around that structure. I thought that was really, really, really helpful for us, and that's something that we will look through on everything that we put out, and just make sure that you've ticked that box from each of those points. And then finally, coming up with an actual marketing communication plan. So we love spreadsheets in our industry, so this really sort of harped to me, and so this then tied into where we've moved on to this week with the whole idea of automation and AI. And it's just been mind-blowing to suddenly just look on these like different suggestions that you've come through to, and suddenly the other day it was like, right, DeepSeek, I want an idea, this is Apollo, this is who we are, this is our reasons why document that we've used and we've created using the content generations on AI. And then I've gone, oh, well, can you create a sort of a marketing plan spreadsheet design for me, sort of thinking I don't even know where to start. Seconds, I've got all the tabs, I've got a breakdown of ideas, I've got a monthly, a weekly, a daily, it's been mind-blowing just how easy it can be to put a structure in place. Yes, we've got to fulfill it, and we've got to be dedicated and have that right structure, but that's just the most basic starting point of now we have that structure. So we're meeting up as a team next week to fill in all the boxes and make sure that our messaging's all aligned and we all know where we're going. And then it's just a matter of putting it in your diary and going, right, today this is what we do. I think it's quite exciting, and it's no longer terrifying as going, how do we even start this process? So yeah, it's been really helpful. So thank you, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, and delivered with so much passion as well. Like, really, really appreciated that. I think it's so good to know, because I think different people take different things, out of the course, but the fact that this has allowed you to sort of put in an overall strategy and move forward with the team, I think has been wonderful. So good luck with it. And I noticed your slides also look beautiful as well. So, I think improvements.
Thanks to AI and designer tools. I mean, there's buttons you've never seen before on all these things you use all the time.
I often look at Steve's slides, and I noticed that yours was a slight upgrade, if you don't mind me saying, Steve. Apologies if that was a bit rude. Yes. Yeah, Steve, do you want to add anything? I know there might be a request coming from, or you, no?
Yeah. Sorry. No, I mean, just to highlight, I think all of our team have taken huge amounts out of the course. I think, Juliet, I've always been a bit of a sales skeptic, and I've had bad experiences of salespeople that have worked in our business take huge salaries and never really delivered. And so, you know, we sort of forged ahead as a bunch of fund managers with no real marketing or sales experience. So it's been great. I mean, back in the day when there were still dinosaurs, I did do the the Porter's 5 Forces at school. But, you know, it's been really great for us all to sort of be energized about it. Emily sort of mentioned, I've been writing a book where we're launching this new fund, trying to demonstrate, but I've done the book, quite a lot of it through AI. It's been harder than I thought. Initially, I thought AI would have been a lot more helpful. I mean, it has been incredibly helpful, but you know, it's like having a ghostwriter sitting next to you. Together, you have to keep rewriting it and developing it. I actually finished it last night, so it's still in a rough draft, and it's not there. So if anybody has got 3 hours of their time to read a book, I'd appreciate, you know, if anybody would feedback. It's a bit technical, it's a bit dry, because it's about absolute return investing, which is very similar to hedge fund investing, but it's for retail investors in Europe. So it's a slightly dumbed down version of hedge funds, but an incredibly useful part. And in the UK and Europe, people tend to be a little bit skeptical about hedge funds because of what happened in the financial crisis. And I think they're sort of missing. So it's a kind of an educational book. Sam, Juliet, and I think it might have been 2 years ago, challenged each other to write a book. I think Sam's already done a couple, haven't you, Sam? So he beat us to it. But anyway, I've beaten Juliet, which is the important thing. But anyway, if anybody has some time to have I've done an audio version as well as there's a PDF version, but anyone want to put their hand up to read it, I'd appreciate it. Anyway, the course has been great, and certainly Apollo have got matters out there. Thanks, Juliet.
Fantastic. Good. Great to hear that. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Matt, shall we move on for you? Are you okay to?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
System? I'm really looking forward, because obviously we have a joint venture with S-String from growth engineering point of view and Iridescent. So yeah, just delighted you could join the journey as well.
Yeah. Morning, guys. I have never ever been involved in sales and marketing. So this was a kind of why have I been nominated to go on this call? However, I have learned so much in just those 4 weeks. It's been an unbelievable journey. I think the highlights for me were right at the beginning, the first 2 weeks, especially the golden circle. And I think listening to the presentation from you, Juliet, on the story of the why and how that developed absolutely changed the way that I thought about the journey that we need to go on. The emotional connections, of course, Carl is very, very good at that. But for me, I hadn't ever had to get involved in this. So it's really given me an eye-opener. And it has, on the course of the 4 weeks, probably every other day I've been emailing him and Carl and Eve, who looks after all of the marketing for String, and saying, oh, I've learned this today, or I found that. So I've been able to point lots of fingers of why do we do it this way, when actually I'm being taught this way is another great option for us. So the 4 Ps, the 5 forces, certainly the why has been massive for me. Introducing kind of influencing partnerships and stuff like that. We don't do any of that. We should. We use LinkedIn all the time, but we don't really use anything else from what I see. And it's to a small audience. So, you know, I think we touch around 167 people through String, whereas if we use different outlets, Cole's LinkedIn, for example, you know, he's got 5,000-6,000 people. So already that would open up options for us. But also the way that we present our company has changed in the last couple of weeks. And this week specifically, Eve has sent out from just the prompts of the emails and, oh, this is what I learned today, or why don't we try it this way, or the story of trying to get out to clients has changed. And you can see already the content this week. I was like, wow, this is so different to what we've done previously. and from that, you know, it's driven conversations. Now I did get a little lost in the sales week 3 part, and I think that's because I don't probably have control in it yet. I was in a situation that I was able to kind of agree with a lot of things that String do really well. And I was ticking a lot of things that we do that great. Oh, we do that, like the branding and stuff like that. So, you know, there's a lot of things in this that I've been able to say, well, actually, I know a little bit about this to be able to question and move forward. So yeah, the post this week was brilliant, and what it has led on to is we're now going to have a planning meeting, similar to what Emily said. So next week, Carl wants to sit down with me and Eve and just work out a more streamlined, planned and organised strategy for what we put out there, how we do it, and the best routes to go going forward. I will just come back to AI. I thought Cosmo's presentation was absolutely unbelievable. And then from there, leading on to going on to Perplexity and the DeepSeek, etc., just blew my mind. So yeah, used it, went on to it, put in a little bit of outstring. Well, within 5 seconds, you know, the whole story is there, and it's just how easy it is to be able to use that, and how we will use that going forward, and how important that will now be to business, especially, but for this definitely, but everything. So appreciate that, and of course on the journey, you know, I've learned a little bit from Sam. You know, I've looked into his companies and been able to. So thank you for your input. Definitely the gin story, and I know Carl's coming across to Andorra very soon, so I'm sure he's going to be looking for a bottle for me to bring back if it's on sale by then. AI Steve, obviously we haven't looked into that yet, but I'm sure Carl will talk around that next week. And yeah, just Cosmo for his input for that AI. I'm very engaged with where we are, and really appreciate, Juliet, your style of the presentations during the last 4 weeks. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. It's great to see the impact in terms of how, like, you know, the whole team has galvanized around, you know, key ideas. So I'm really, really pleased, and it can only reflect really well, I think, on the growth engineering team and also Iridescent. So I think this is the beauty about partnerships. You know, I mean, I've been lucky to meet Jared, and hopefully we're going to be working together as well, you know, on this course. So yeah, really, really excited. Can I move to the GE team? Because obviously GE close to my heart. I wonder if either Harry, who always has a way with words, or Sam, who is very much on the technical side, might like to add any of their key thoughts with regards to, because they're on the management team at Growth Engineering. I'm not really part of the management team anymore. So I just wondered, are there any key takeaways you're going to be taking back into what you guys are doing at Growth Engineering in order to drive things forward?
Yeah, I can say a few words. I haven't really prepared anything, but definitely have a few thoughts about what I've found useful and some of the things I'll be taking away. I think I found the course really useful as an opportunity to kind of step back from the day-to-day of what I do, which is, you know, trying to cover quite a lot of bases as effectively a one-man marketing team. So it's been a good opportunity to step back and think through those basics, think through the fundamentals, things like the 4 Ps, which you don't really think about on a day-to-day basis, but it's always good to have in mind. Having the opportunity to redraw our buyer personas, which is an exercise we did years back, like 5 or 6 years back. So we had some in place, but they were really out of date, and having the opportunity to redraw those, I think, has been invaluable, and is already informing the next batch of content that I'm working on now. So it's already kind of refocused my efforts and thoughts. So I think from that point of view, that's been really useful. And then I think listening to everyone on the call talking about the way they approach things has inspired me to want to build my personal brand a little bit more and put myself out there particularly through, I think, LinkedIn. Last year I did, I recorded some YouTube videos that were relatively well received, but I want to build on that this year. I want to try and up the production values and get more video content out there as well, more multimodal content that I can then use across different channels. So yeah, I do definitely want to do that. I think this course has helped inspire more in that area. And then also, just when it comes to AI and automation, I've always been excited by the potential of that. But yeah, just it's sparked new ideas. I do want to still try and make sure that anything that we push out through the growth engineering brand is obviously quality focused and comes across as authentic. So I still want to make sure that we don't dilute the brand voice by pumping out lots of AI content that doesn't ring true or doesn't really add anything new to the conversation. So I still want to try and guard against that. But I think there's just so much potential for what we can and should be using AI for. And I've put some like initial ideas. I want to try and enrich all our data on HubSpot, which is, I believe, something you can do through AI and automation. So going through all our 20,000 plus contacts and adding in any missing data. If it's missing like company names or it's got an old email address, then I'm hoping it can update that. I want to ease our current reporting process, which is a bit clunky. It takes me 2-3 hours every week to pull out the data I need and put it in a Google spreadsheet. So I'm hoping I'll be able to automate a big chunk of that, save a couple of hours a week potentially. And then I think one of the weak areas of our current marketing setup is what we do with leads once they're in our CRM. I want to try and improve the nurturing process that we've got in place. We do have like a 2-3 step email chain that goes out once the lead within our CRM reaches a certain score. Well, it then like triggers a lead flow, but I think there's a lot more that we can be doing that's personalized and specific to the contact. So I want to explore that and try and automate as much of that nurturing process as possible. And I've always just focused on using Gemini as a AI tool, but I've now started experimenting with DeepSeek as well, which I'm enjoying so far. Although it keeps timing out for me, it keeps saying the server's too busy, but it does seem to be really, really powerful as a tool, DeepSeek. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else has had to explore yet, but I've been enjoying that. Yeah, I think that's it. I found the course really, really useful. So thank you, Juliet, and thank you everyone for sharing your wisdom throughout. It's massively appreciated.
Good. Well, I'm thrilled to see it in action. Sam, I know that you're not from the world of sales and marketing. I did get a message from you on Discord a couple of weeks ago, just saying that when we were talking about the sales, it was a bit of an opener for you. I don't know if you want to just comment on what it's been like to be fully in the world of tech and actually just on a sales and marketing accelerator course. Whether any of it has sort of I don't know, made an impact, or I mean, obviously you are leading and part of the management team of growth engineering. So has any of it been useful from a strategy point of view, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I definitely have very little to do with sales and marketing, so it's been a very useful course for me, I would say. I think, yeah, the bit that I think stood out the most or was most useful in my role was the bit about customer advocacy. Those slides about how to build up, advocacy. There was lots of good ideas in there, and we'll be sharing that with our customer success team as well, because there's lots of takeaways for them to think about. I think we've done a lot recently in terms of sort of listening to customers and increasing communications, but I think there's more we can do in terms of being consistent with those communications and acting on more of the feedback and soliciting more feedback, that sort of stuff, and also building up a community. So it's definitely something we have discussed in the past, but yeah, just you talking about it on that presentation just sort of hammered home that there is a lot of value to be had from building up this community of customers and that's just about adding more value for our customers, something that our competitors maybe can't offer, and customers can share ideas with each other on how they use the platform, etc.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I know you guys have done such a lot of work over the last 2 years to basically build, you know, the trust that we lost, you know, post COVID and everything. And I think, yeah, I think, you know, taking that back in the business would be, you know, only a good thing. I mean, it's been a pleasure to have both of you on the call, so thank you very much for attending, particularly you, Sam, because it's not in your wheelhouse, but I appreciate, yeah, the fact that it's inspired some thought, and I know that you work really closely with the CS team, and so I think you advocating for those kind of things will only strengthen the company. So, you know, good luck with it, and you know, I'm delighted that you're along for the journey. So thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been really useful. Thanks.
Good. Soraya, can we have something about gin? Because we're very excited about gin. You probably know everybody on the call has only turned up, I think, to hear about your gin story. Yeah.
And we're going to have a private gin party.
Yes.
Well, actually, just before I forget, you should definitely all stay in touch then, because we're going to have a launch party, just so I can send you guys all invites when it comes to the actual opening night. I haven't done it as a presentation, so sorry, this is like a messy thing of notes on my phone, random thoughts. So I think, I mean, just the whole course for me has been amazing, and I've taken bits from kind of every single day, and I think the big learning is that it's just how all of these different components come together and feed into each other and work as this kind of whole organism to ultimately lead to what we all want, which is a growing, successful, healthy business. I think also coming from such a different background, you know, the only experience I have as business is being self-employed as a TV director. So I think I felt a lot of insecurity starting a business. My partner has had a business before. But for me, it felt really overwhelming. So I think having a framework to lean into, and I'm fully intending on kind of basically printing all of our lessons out and putting them in a binder, if that's okay, just so that if I get overwhelmed, I can kind of come back to it and find my feet again. As other people have mentioned, I think, you know, definitely the 4 Ps and the Porter's 5 forces and understanding, because I've got kind of 2 different scenarios insofar as Andorra is such a unique microcosm, you know, in terms of the market and compared to outside Andorra. Just thinking of those like having 2 different approaches for each thing and a strategy for both, I think has been really helpful. So it's been a lot of kind of discovery of what I don't know, but I think also a lot of reassurance that maybe I know more than I thought I did in terms of intuition. And as Matt was saying, when he was chatting, I think when it came back to the golden why, and I'll read you guys this post I did on Instagram, because I'm just starting to kind of build that up. And I think it was realizing that actually I am already doing kind of some things right. So this is what I wrote, just finding the English version. This was a post where I was kind of introducing what Fora is. And I said, launching this winter, Fora is Andorra's first ever craft distillery and ultra premium gin. It has been crafted to reflect Andorra's abundant nature as well as its unique geographical identity between the Pyrenean Mountains and the Mediterranean, balancing hand-foraged forest botanicals such as wild juniper and pine with lots of Spanish citrus, rosemary, local honey, and even some Arbequina olives for a touch of salinity. In Catalan, our name means outdoors, whilst in English it is a playful reference to our passion for foraged ingredients. As our product is rooted in nature, so are our brand values. This will be reflected in everything we do, from gin itself, brackets organic spirit and locally sourced ingredients, to our packaging, which will be zero plastic, organic inks and bottles made from post-consumer recycled glass. If you look the word up, Fora also refers to public places and gatherings where people can meet to discuss ideas freely. This definition underlines our commitment to community, and the Andorran community specifically will be at the heart of everything we do. And I think that I realized that actually I knew my golden why, and And for me, kind of coming from both places, I kind of slightly sometimes have felt like I didn't belong in either. I was never fully Andorran, and then I was never fully British. And actually, there's a way in a business sense of turning that into a superpower, that I can be inspired by what is going on the global stage, particularly in the UK, which is so gin heavy in terms of the market, and bring that back to Andorra, but I can make it uniquely Andorran. So I think it was some reassurance that I'm already on a good course with the why. But yeah, kind of leaning into community. I think you said, hang on, I'm just going to come back to my little notes. I've lost my course. The golden why. And also just in terms of feeling worried about competition coming up in Andorra and those kind of threats immediately, that if we stay rooted to it, and we've got it in our name, and if I keep on coming back to that and stay true to that, and so that's reflected in we're going to be doing a pre-mixed Negroni with a local Andorran vermouth. And I found out that La Cortinada, which is the village where we're going to have our distillery, is actually going to have a vermouth festival this summer. And for those of you who know what a Negroni is, a vermouth is of Negroni is made up it's 3 ingredients, and one of them is vermouth and the other one's gin. So I texted the vermouth guy and I said, do you want to share a stand at this vermouth festival? And he immediately said yes. So it was kind of, I think at the beginning, Juliet, you said you were talking about markets generally, and how when a tide is rising, all ships rise at the same time. And so for me, it was about combining that with community, leaning into Raimon, the guy who runs the vermouth company, is already really established on the alcohol scene within Andorra. Leaning into him, introducing me to people and his expertise and his knowledge, but vice versa, as Fora's presence hopefully grows, celebrating him on our website, or kind of by using his product in ours. So it was talking about that. And then I think from the AI side of things, kind of the calendar of events really got me thinking, because it's literally going to be myself and my partner running the company at the beginning. It's a lot, and it's quite overwhelming, especially because my partner doesn't speak Spanish and Catalan, so a lot of the weight is going to be falling on me. So I think just thinking ahead to doing a calendar for 30 days for the social media thing was really helpful. And actually what I didn't expect is how that would inspire me in different ways. So this week has been a mad week of gin exploring, and we've actually made a different batch of gin every week, including, I texted Juliet about it, random concoctions. Like I made a fresh jalapeno, fresh coriander and honey gin the other day, which was actually amazing. And that was kind of rooted in thinking about the calendar of events and what these key, what dates are that you can celebrate and things like that. So it's kind of interesting how one thing that was practical could actually lead into creativity and kind of inspire me in a different way. Sorry, I'm really rambling. I suddenly got really nervous talking about this.
No,
what else? Also using AI in so many different ways that I didn't think about, the struggle of trying to run social media campaigns in potentially up to 4 languages. Again, Andorra is this really unique microcosm. I'm just going to focus on English and Catalan primarily, but the reality is it's also going to be French and Spanish. So leaning into that. And then the other thing for me was I just felt really uncomfortable. I'm kind of definitely extroverted introvert, and that really manifests when it comes to kind of being salesy, and my partner's even more introvert, really introverted. So I think that was the thing that we were worried about. So I think, like you said, having this framework to approach sales and problem solving and leaning into the pain points, I think has really eased my concern about how to go about that, to avoid being the kind of snake oily salesperson, like you said. And also one of the things that I noticed is that it's just, it's not only the pain point just about introducing a local product to the market, but I think it's got me thinking about future products more, where we're going to go with them. I've kind of decided that a product that we didn't think we were going to roll out, because the global gin stage is so busy with products, we didn't think that we were going to bring out a kind of more traditional London dry. But actually we realized that within Andorra, a lot of Andorran people, because all they've tasted is Bombay, Gordons and Beefeaters. Some people, and we've had, you know, lots of lovely feedback on our gin that, you know, it's completely different to anything anybody's tasted, and that's mostly been positive. But some people haven't been ready for it. And it's kind of got me thinking, oh, well, actually, maybe there is a place for a really classic London dry, but kind of, but our take on it, and still leaning into the local. But also that, coming back to the golden why, you know, Andorra is a small country and we only have so many botanicals locally. So not every single product can be made from foraged ingredients, but that's okay as long as the why is still about the Andorran community, or part of our why is still within the gin. Even if it's not the foraged ingredients for that particular bottle, there can still be other components of our why. It's still an Andorran product. It's made in Andorra. We are an Andorran company. So I think just thinking about it in those terms, and the collaborations, again, just coming back to the sales thing about brand ambassadors, I think I've always hated being sold to as well, just because I think a lot of people have been that kind of more snake oil salesperson. But even within I can't bear most influencers on social media, mostly from a kind of slight feminist point of view. I slightly feel like a lot of female influencers set women's lib back by about 100 years. And so kind of just looking around at other gin brands, like, for example, this is a gin that I love, but this was one of their gin social media posts. And this kind of epitomizes everything I despise about using influencers or kind of those kind of social media posts. So thinking about experts as opposed to, you know, just influencers, I think really helped me think about what our version of influencers would be for social media strategy. So that was really helpful. And then what else? And thinking about, you know, just events and how to bring the community in more, that it's not just about our partners and doing the behind the scenes videos with our honey guy or our olive guy or Raimon the vermouth guy, but it's also about, because we don't want to be a bar, what are the events we could do? So leaning on our name, which is obviously Fora, I thought we could have a Foragers Club.
Nice.
Where we can blend maybe like foraging events. Like one of my big joys, and you know, when I was growing up, was going foraging for mushrooms and all of the amazing things that you can forage for in Andorra. So maybe we can do foraging events that end back at the distillery with a, you know, cooking with the foraged ingredients and a gin evening or something. So yeah, it's just been really helpful to think about all of the different facets that will kind of make up the business. That was really rambly. I'm really sorry.
I think I speak on behalf of all of us on the course. It really has been a pleasure to have a business on the course that we can all relate to. You know, I think, you know, being a tech business or a service business like Matt, or, you know, a thought leader business like Jared, or, you know, the Apollo Group. So yeah, have just really appreciated, you know, you sharing your story. I think it's captured all of our imaginations. So yeah, I think we're all really looking forward to the journey. Right, I'm going to end strong on Sam Dyson. I know that we've all enjoyed his participation. So Sam, if you'd like to close us out. So remember, tomorrow is Amal. Cosmo's going to kick off the class just with his big takeaways. You know, Cosmo obviously is a bit of a technical genius, but he hasn't had a lot of business, hasn't really had any business education at all. So I'm looking forward to what he thinks has been the most useful bits with regards to iridescent, and then Amal's going to take it away with SEO. So Sam, would love you to end us strong and powerfully like you always do.
Okay, good. So I haven't created any slides. One of the reasons I haven't created any slides, firstly, I just haven't created any slides. And secondly, is because I can't really keep on topic. So if I put a slide up, I'll end up talking about something else anyway. So there's not a lot of points. So So just a recap of kind of what I've learned and my experience and what sort of how things have affected me over the past 4 weeks. So I've had a sales and marketing background for a number of years, sort of 15 years, mainly in real estate, but with property management and with publishing and various other things. And it's just kind of proliferated from there. So a lot of this stuff has just been a recap for me. But actually, that has been really beneficial because I've just started with this supplement company, PhD, which I joined on the 6th of January. So there was a lot of issues with that. It was a very well-structured business about 15 years ago, and they had a turnover about 4 million, and now they've got a turnover of, well, when I joined, they had a turnover about 25 grand. So my main focus on that business for the past 4 weeks has been setting up the company for success, to make sure that the company's ready to accept the increased activity of the marketing. I've also started the marketing aspects. So I've been actually implementing everything as I've gone along. So as soon as things come in, I've basically put it through Claude, put it through Perplexity. Obviously, I knew how to do that before, and I started effectively setting things up. So all of the profiles are now set up. As I said before, I'm on all the social media platforms. We haven't really started the marketing. We have just set ourselves up for success, set ourselves up on Google and started putting our descriptions and things like that in there on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. We've done like one post, if that. Now, you might look at it and go, what actually does that make any difference? And it has indeed. And this is the really important thing about this. So it does allow for the business to grow. And even that tiny thing that you may change, you may not think it's relevant, it is. So what we've seen in the past 26 days is a 435% increase in customer interactions on the website. We have gross sales income by 224%. And we have a 403% increase in total sales.
Wow.
So the time, and also the time to fulfill orders was basically 3 days, and now it is less than 1 hour. So effectively, I said, look, we need to be ready to do this because that's what needs to happen. So obviously, sales and marketing is great, but it also has to have the backing and structure of the company. Obviously, this is a tiny company, and it's only really 2 of us who are doing it. So although you're making, you need to make sure you make appropriate and consistent messages, you need a backdrop of a well-organized system in order to accept those sales. So if you can't deal with that, you have to have those processes in place. And it can be an issue if you just market and say, right, you know, we're just doing this. And often you see that with businesses where there is a sales function and there is a technical function or a, you know, whatever function, and their relationship is kind of, oh, it's the salespeople. But the thing is what you need to remember is that every penny in the business, for your salary, services, equipment, the fact you're using a computer, the fact that you're even online, the fact the lights are even on, has to go, all that is paid for by the sales process. So effectively, it is a holistic team where the salespeople are kind of the tip of the spear, and it needs to go through. So effectively, yes, they're the people reaching out to these customer interactions. But if that doesn't happen, no one's going to get paid. The lights are going to turn off and everyone's going to go home and you have to find another job. And so therefore, as someone who may not be right at the, you know, in the sales idea, your job is to support the salespeople. And likewise, the salespeople's job is to support the tech people, for example. And if there isn't that cohesion, it can go very wrong. Because really all I've done in the business is actually set the business up so that we have a chat bot, we have all these things that work straight away. People send us a message and we respond. And that is setting it up for success. And it is the sort of foundation of sales and marketing. And I think the key thing or the key takeaway that I would reiterate on this is that I really hope that everyone now knows what the main purpose of their business, or what a business, the main purpose is. Now, it's not the golden why. Just in case you're kind of thinking, what is the main purpose of the business? The main purpose is to make money. Yeah, so you may like what you do, and that's brilliant, but the only reason you are in business is to make money. Otherwise, it is just an expensive hobby. Yeah, so you need to be very clear that that is what you're doing, irrespective of how you feel about it and how much it's your passion. You need to think of it as a business, and it needs to function as such, and therefore it must make sales. So sales and marketing are critical, and you must always think of it as it is there to make money for you. So particularly with individual businesses, people get very, very personal that it is them. It's not. It's a separate entity, and it must make money. Otherwise, it is just a hobby.
I don't think we could have ended on a more solid note. The man is powerful. The man makes sense. It's just the way it is, right? You can't take away from the fact that we all want businesses. We don't want hobbies. So thank you very much, Dan, for bringing it home. Thank you all for being part of this accelerator. I wanted to do it for my apprentices, so Cosmo, Xavi, and Billy. But to be honest with you, it really wouldn't have. They really wouldn't have enjoyed it, or they wouldn't have got as much out of it if you guys hadn't participated. You know, it just makes it a lot better. So I want to deeply thank you for giving me the last 19, hours of your life over the last 4 weeks. And I hope, you'll be able to join Amal, who this is the first time that she's ever done one of these things. So hopefully we can all support her on her journey as she builds her SEO marketing business tomorrow. And let's all keep in touch, and if we can help each other in our businesses through our socials and stuff like that, then please, let's be very much part of that, onwards and upwards together. Fantastic. So hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Thank you for your contributions, guys. Cheers. Bye.